Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome friends to the first lecture of this course, Business English Communication. I am sure that many of you are interested to know what is Business English. Some of you must be having your courses specifically in Business English. Some of you must be just interested and want to hone your skill particularly in English language and understand how it all works in business English. So, this is what we cater to, this is what the course will cater to. Basically, it is meant for those who are doing any degree in business studies, business administration and all the related fields. Those who are in the area of commerce or even engineering and technology, they may also find it useful because it has a huge component which is geared towards developing your communicative skills. But please remember, since the course is called Business English, we are going to take examples and various structures and vocabulary that is more relevant to business English. In today's class, we are going to do reading. As you know, reading has two predominant components, subsets, skimming and scanning. What do we read? We read books, we read chapters, we read journal articles. We also read reports, charts, diagrams, graphs, advertisements and try to understand and analyze what are these. So, we are going to look at how reading operates, particularly in the domain of business English communication, how to cull out particular details, read for specific information, etc. We will also understand how to understand genre. Genre, for example, email is a genre, letter is a genre. All these things we are going to do in our subsequent classes. So, various genres of reading, various genres of writing, etc. that is going to be a part of this course. We will also see how we understand the key details from the title itself. So, this is understanding the title. If you are not able to see my handwriting very clearly, let me read it out to you, understanding the title and from the title deriving the key details. The objective of the course, as already mentioned, is or particularly not the course, but the reading module is to help you read better. Please understand that we are going to do a lot of reading, not just reading efficiently, but also more quickly. For effective reading of English texts, we need to employ the same skills that help us in culling out arguments, identifying relevant details and otherwise overall improve our proficiency in this context. So, reading for context is also something that we are going to do. While approaching a text, now what is a text? As I showed you here, an article is a text, report is a text. So, whatever you look at becomes a text, whatever is written material in front of you becomes a text. Ask yourself, why am I reading? What is it all about? What is the context of the text? What is the text talking about? What are the key arguments? See, in this kind of reading, the signal markers are given very clearly, the signal words, firstly, secondly, however, so you, the few signposts of the English language, they denote how to carry on with our reading. So, remember these words, signposting, first, second, to begin with, firstly, secondly, to begin with, these are the signposts that tell us that the direction in which the writing is going. So, what is the text talking about, and how these arguments are being built up, constructed, and what is the central idea? See, these are all very basic things, but as we grow up in our academics, we forget the basics. So, please revise the basics. What is the central idea? Always ask the central idea of this passage. What is it talking about? Is there a new idea, a fresh idea, or going back to the same earlier idea? So, this is how we look at it. Now, before I show you some actual passages, please look at the slide here. And this is all about understanding the structure of your text. Things to look out for in the text you are reading. So, first is paragraphs, as I told you just now. How many? But before that, you have the introduction to the book or chapter or article, and before that, you have the title. Okay? So, you have the title, you have introduction to the book or to the chapter or article, then you have your paragraphs, you have chapters. If there is any data or table or other information, then that is also there, and at the end you have conclusion. So, title begins, conclusion is the end, in between you have all these things. You have an exercise. For example, pick any of the texts given in the appendix and identify its structure with the help of the indicators discussed before. So, you look at these things, okay, paragraph, introduction, title, and pick a text of, this is your exercise. Please note down your exercise. This is just a warm up, or pick up any of the texts given, not in the appendix here, but in your textbook or anything that you are reading, and try to identify these elements. Where is the title? Where is the introduction? How are the paragraphs? How are the chapters, if any? How is the conclusion done? This is your warm up exercise. Now, some of the reading techniques, as I just told you about, one is first thing first, understanding the title. Title holds the key to the entire text or passage. It is mostly possible to understand or at least decipher the meaning, gauge the meaning of the text from the title. It is not creative writing, they are not going to mislead you. Title is very matter of fact in business English and in technical English. For example, if you come across something like Facebook raises $100 million from so and so fund, then this means that the text is going to be all about fundraising and Facebook, how it has done that. As simple as that. You should also remember there is another aspect to your reading or any kind of communication. It could be formal, informal, and somewhere in between, semi-formal. For a formal passage, pay attention to the jargon, the register, and the terms. It requires close, careful reading. For an informal passage, a general understanding of the text would be sufficient as well. Always understand the key points of the text. Okay, so for example, you may often come across the objective, the aim of this. Okay, figure so and so is trying to show us that. So pay attention to these terms. When they say summarize the data, summarize the information, that means that you have to summarize. Okay, introduce these. So that means you have to bring along an introductory passage or a sentence to there. Summarize means culling out the entire information in one paragraph. Look at the vocabulary, the words that are given, the particular lexical phrases. So, in good reading, always pay attention to lexical phrases. If it's summarizing, then you have to summarize something. Keyword means you have to give one keyword. Central idea is one central idea. There cannot be several central ideas. Keywords could be more than one, but central idea is central idea. Look at these very specific kinds of lexical phrases. Skimming and scanning. Now when we scan a paragraph for a comprehensive understanding, okay, for example, what do we look for when we skim and what do you look for when we scan? We scan for particular information, we skim for a general idea. Remember these things. Another idea or another tip which is very important when we do reading is to understand the genre. What is genre and why is it important? Genre helps us in identifying the category of the text, okay, and when we know the category of the text, we are able to identify or predict some of the content and language that can be expected in a text like that. It helps us identify certain ways of reading them. So therefore, it's important to understand genre. So much for a very brief overview of what a reading module entails. Let's look at the first example here. The formal report. See how it is lucid. See how things or how headings are used to separate sections. I am not going to read out the entire report for you, but look at the title. The Internet of Things, making sense of the next mega trend. I have given you the reference also at the bottom. Look at the subheadings. 28 billion reasons to care, and the train is leaving the station. Lots of room to participate. Benchmarking the future. Focus, enablers, platforms and industrials. What are we doing here? Subheadings, separate sections and focus of the argument in each paragraph. So this is how you read. And please remember, for any kind of text that tests your understanding of business English, there will always be subheadings like these. This is not creative writing. This is not an argumentative essay. You will come across in business English. Business English has its own style and format, and this is how it works. Look at this now. Another example is called infographic. Automation that brings us closer to our stakeholders. And look at the way, I am not going into the details of this, but look at the way how it has been color coded, and each color suggests a different idea. Aligned with company core values, empower workers, govern automation, improve cyber security. Color coding is done to help us understand the information, otherwise it would be too many details here. But this is the way business English works. The graphs work. They code, they shade, they color, and that's how you're supposed to, that's the way you're supposed to identify and distinguish each detail, each element, each feature. Let's look at this one. How to understand formal and informal situations. Formal business English and some phrases. 3 weeks ago, we had to, this is informal, our company is on the way to success. Not a long while back, we were nothing globally. This is quite informal. And formal, first and foremost, Figure 9.2, hard to isolate factor A from factor B. So, why are we doing all this? To understand the level of formality implicit in a text. The language, the lexical phrases are the key. Look at the exercise here now, and we are going to do some questions based on it. Identify the type of the following text. The new center, Amazon's biggest in India, will improve the company's capabilities to provide 1-day and 2-day deliveries on a wide range of products. Akhil Saxena, Vice President for India Customer Fulfillment at Amazon India, said in a press release on September 7. Telangana has more than 10,000 sellers, and the selection they offer on Amazon's marketplace for immediate delivery has grown more than 120% this year as compared to last year, Saxena added. Increasing its fulfillment centers with its state-of-the-art infrastructure helps Amazon boost the fulfillment by Amazon delivery option, which the company sees as its gold standard service. When using it, sellers across India send the product to Amazon's warehouses, and once an order is placed, Amazon picks, packs and ships the order to the customer, provides customer service and manages returns on behalf of the sellers. Continue with the same article. Orders fulfilled by Amazon are eligible for cash on delivery, guaranteed next day, same day, morning and Sunday deliveries. With some products such as popular smartphones, Amazon offers release day deliveries as well. Sellers always have the flexibility to choose the number of products they want to have fulfilled by Amazon and scale according to their business requirements, the company said in its September 7 press release, and this is the reference to the article. So, what was your question? What is the genre of the text? Obviously, it's a formal text. So, your answer is formal. Why formal? Look at the tone. Is it very chatty? Is it saying you will receive, or hey, let's see, this is the way it's done? It's not. It's being very formal, very impersonal, very professional. It's a press release. Hence, it's undoubtedly a formal passage. So, it's not a semi-formal, it's not an informal, but it's a formal passage. So, that's what you are supposed to. So, it was just a kind of a brief introduction to identifying the tone. Remember how importance is given to facts, figures, numbers. Telangana has more than 10,000 sellers, 120% growth this year, Saxena added. So, someone who is in position of authority and responsibility, he is quoted and cited, and numbers are given, facts and figures and all illustrations are given. So, what do all these things mean? It means that it's a very serious, very formal, very professional kind of a passage. Now, another, just to reinforce what is skimming and scanning. Remember, you will be finding several passages to test your skimming and scanning abilities. Skimming, remember, you have to go through the whole text quickly in order to work out the key topic, main ideas, etc. Scanning is reading quickly to identify a particular piece of information, such as a date or time or place or a name or a fact. So, there is a difference. Skimming is mainly for a main idea and key topic. Look at the example here. Now, what am I asking you to do? Look at the opening and closing paragraphs of an article. Let's talk about a supplemental income. Look at the slide here. There has been a lot of discussion on universal basic income UBI in both developed and developing countries. The primary objective is to enable every citizen to have a certain minimum income. The term universal is meant to connote that the minimum or basic income will be provided to everyone irrespective of whatever their current income is. The adoption of a universal basic income can impose a burden on the fisc which is well beyond the capabilities of most developing countries, including India. In discussing the applicability of the concept of basic income to India, three questions arise. The first is whether it should be universal or restricted. The second is what the level of minimum income is and how this is to be determined. And the third is about the financing mechanism for implementing such a scheme. So look at the way the introduction has been, or opening has been done, and also notice the complex sentences, especially the last one. The first is, the second and the third. So you don't find small sentences here. You find three sentences embedded in one. Some of you want me, for my earlier courses, some of you have requested that in between it's a good idea to use our own languages also. I would try to incorporate Hindi as and when possible. So आपके लिए ये भी आप इस पे ध्यान दें कि आखिरी सेंटेंस देखिए, इस जैसे इस की शुरुआत हुई है इस आर्टिकल की, आखिरी सेंटेंस में छोटे छोटे सेंटेंसेस नहीं हैं, छोटे छोटे वाक्य नहीं हैं, बल्कि एक लंबा सा वाक्य है जिसमें पहला, दूसरा और तीसरा ऐसे करके तीन भागों में इस वाक्य को ब्रेकअप किया गया है, इसको तोड़ा गया है. तो दिस इज़ वन वे ऑफ राइटिंग गुड इंग्लिश. अच्छी इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज लिखने के लिए आपको ज़रूरी है कि आप ना सिर्फ अच्छी शब्दों का उपयोग करें, आपको इस बात की भी ज़रूरत रहेगी कि आप जिस तरह के वाक्य बनाते हैं, वाक्य किस तरह के वाक्य निर्धारित करते हैं, उस पर भी निर्भर रहता है कि आपको किस तरह के नंबर मिले जाए, मार्क्स अवार्ड किए जाएं. तो आप ये भी बात देखिए कि इस लैंग्वेज में कितनी वैरायटी है. सिर्फ छोटे छोटे वाक्य लेंगे तो लगेगा कि इस विद्यार्थी को लिखना नहीं आता ठीक से, लेकिन अगर आप ऐसे सेंटेंसेस लेंगे जिसमें मिक्स हो, मिश्रण हो, छोटे सेंटेंस का, लंबे सेंटेंसेस का, तो वाक्यों का, तो वो आपकी लिखाई की सुंदरता को बढ़ावा देगा. Look at the next slide. Please look at the slide here now. In fact, the concept of a basic income must be turned essentially into a supplemental income. So, what are we looking at here? Conclusion. Such a scheme will be feasible provided we restrict the beneficiaries to groups which can be easily identified. This restriction essentially comes from fiscal compulsions regarding finances. It is not easy to remove all implicit subsidies. The design for financing the scheme has to be viewed in a more pragmatic way. Restricting the fiscal burden to 1.5 to 2% of GDP seems desirable and feasible. Half of this can come from phasing out some of the existing expenditures, while the other half can come by raising fresh revenue. Lastly, the proposal here refers only to the income supplement that can be provided by the central government. Similar efforts can be made by the respective state governments if they so desire. आप इसका आखिरी सेंटेंस देखें, उसमें देखिए कि कैसे lastly का प्रयोग किया गया है. Look at the last sentence and look at the way the word lastly, it's a signal, it's a signifying, it's a signpost that it's coming to an end. So lastly, therefore lastly. Now here is the question. These are your questions which are based on this particular slide that we have just seen. Look at the slide here, exercise. Read the extract from the report published in the Hindu in the previous slide and decide which of the following statements are true or false. A. The author argues for a restrictive view of UBI and wants to turn it into a supplemental income. B. Designing finance has to be viewed in a more idealist way. C. The term universal is meant to connote that the minimum or basic income will be provided to everyone irrespective of whatever their current income is. So, you have to give true or false for these A, B, C, and the second question is identify the main points of the whole report. So, please look at it and answer. I will give you one moment to think over. So, first is answer is both options A and C are true. It is directly identified from the article. Option B is wrong or false. The report mentions that designing finance needs to be done in a pragmatic way. Pragmatic way means dealing with things realistically and with practical considerations. It is not idealistic. Pragmatic opposite idealistic. So, therefore, options A and C are correct. And main points of the whole report, what are we are expected to do? Identify the main point of the report. So, remember how the headline summarizes the whole argument of the article, and that's what I said at the beginning. पहले जैसा आपसे कहा गया था कि किसी भी गद्य का पैसेज का शीर्षक बताता है आपको कि इसमें मेन आइडिया क्या है, इसके जो सबसे ज़्यादा महत्वपूर्ण पॉइंट्स हैं वो कौन से हैं, तो वो टाइटल में शीर्षक में ही साफ दिखाई देते हैं. It also helps to identify the authors and their areas of the expertise. So, look at who the authors are, and you have to understand the introductory lines that hold the key to what the passage wants to tell you about. UBI, first paragraph itself tells you UBI, what is it, what is UBI, and the three factors to consider in talking about its implementation. And the concluding paragraph repeats what the authors think about such a step. And coming to the last point today that I wanted to discuss before I wind up the very first class of reading comprehension module, you have to read the entire passage carefully and then attempt the questions. I cannot stress enough on that. तो पूरा पैसेज ठीक से पढ़िए, फिर जल्दबाजी में कोई निर्णय मत लीजिए. You have to always answer or pick the correct answer which you think is the most appropriate, and pay attention to charts, figures, numbers. कभी कभी बहुत महत्व दिया जाता है इन चीज़ों पर. These things are given extremely or extreme significance, so you have to understand. And also always look out for the catchphrases while reading. So, I am going to do many more exercises in our subsequent classes as well, but that's all for the first class. Thank you very much.